How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Set 6, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Suikoden HD Remaster and having a look at some beginner tips for that game. So, like the video, subscribe for future content, but let's jump straight into it. So the thing that we're going to do today is we're going to go through the first few hours of the game and just point out some things that A, you should be doing in general the whole time, and B, point out a couple of items and things that you might want to get early. So, the very first thing that we can do comes as soon as we get control of our character back in the McDowell household. And it involves going a little bit out of our way, going on a little bit of a journey, but we'll get something that's quite beneficial at the end of it. There are two different items that you can get. One of them is a fortune orb, which doubles the amount of XP that a character gets, and the other is a prosperity orb, which doubles the amount of potch money that you get at the end of each encounter. Now, if you go on this adventure solo with just the main character, you'll get the fortune orb, and if you pick up one other character by going upstairs and speaking to Ted, then you'll get a prosperity orb. It's up to you which one you want. Personally, I go for the fortune orb, but it's up to you. Whichever one you decide to do, you then need to head outside, leave the town. Definitely make sure that you pick up some gear before you leave Gregminster. I believe that everyone who buys the game will get this DLC package where you get 50,000 potch, a prosperity orb and a fortune orb, so you may decide that you don't want to do this bit, but you can have more, so why not? If you do get that money, make sure that you spend some of it just buying a bit of gear for your main character, or both characters if you've decided to take Ted with you. But yeah, once you're geared up, you're going to head outside of the town of Gregminster, and you're going to fight in the area around Gregminster until you get to about level 9. The reason that you need to get to level 9 is so that in an area that we're going to hit soon, you're able to let the enemies go, which is the same as running away, except instead of you leaving, they leave. And the level that we need to do that for the area that we're going to is level 9, so make sure that you get yourself to there. Now, in the middle of tip 1, we're going to sneak tip 2 in, and tip 2 is that in Suikoden, you don't find weapons or buy weapons, you upgrade the weapon that you already have. And this is the first point we have that we can do this. So, you're going to want to head to the south from Gregminster and you'll find the town of Lennenkamp. And this is the spot where we can A, upgrade our weapons at the blacksmith, and B, buy new gear in order to make ourselves a little bit less squishy. Now, this can be a little bit expensive, costing around 5,000 potch roughly to get a character all the way from 1 to level 5, but it's worth doing and it will make sure that you can get through the areas that we're going to get through. Also, this is something to always keep in mind whenever you get a new character, whenever you change your party up or anything like that, you need to go and upgrade their weapons to the level that you can, and you need to get whatever armor that they need. So make sure that you're keeping an eye on this. And this brings us to another tip in the middle of the first tip, and that's regarding money. Because doing all of this is going to cost a little bit of money potentially, and if you've not got the money, one thing that you can do in Suikoden to get some money is you can gamble. If you head to the east from Gregminster, you'll reach a town called Rockland, and in the area of Rockland there's this guy here called Marco, and you can gamble with him. It's basically a follow the coin in the cups game. Depending on how much money you gamble, depends on how fast the cups go. But for those of you that know Suikoden, this is going to work a little bit differently than it previously did. In the earlier versions of Suikoden, there was a pattern to this, and you could exploit this pretty heavily in order to make quite a bit of money, and unfortunately, this method is not really an option anymore. This has been fixed and takes away a very easy way to make money in this game. Now, there is an alternative, but it's a bit of a pain. What you can do is you can record the cups using your phone, play it back at slow motion, and find the correct cup. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much the only way to do it. You can do that if you want to. There's no way to exploit this anymore other than using some other type of device. So I figured I'd throw this one in here just to let people know. Now then, back to the first tip. Once you've got yourself to level 9, you've got yourself geared up, you've upgraded your weapon, and you're either going solo or you've brought another character, Ted, along with you, head slightly to the southwest from Gregminster, you'll see a bridge, go across it, and enter the mountain just to the north of there. This is Mount Tigerwolf. You might be able to get through some of the encounters in this area, but it's going to be A, much faster, and B, much easier if you just let these enemies go. So select Let Go from the combat menu, and just head through the area, pick up the items that you can, but just make sure that once you're full of items, you don't open any other chests, because you'll end up locked into a decision to discard something, and you don't want to do that. You can only carry so many items per character. It's a mechanic that I hate in a lot of games. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but it is what it is. So once you're full of items, don't open any more chests. Keep heading through Mount Tiger Wolf, and you'll eventually reach the town of Sarade. Enter the house in the top right hand corner, speak to the guy there, and he will give you either a fortune orb or a prosperity orb, depending on whether you're on your own or if you've brought Ted. You can only do this now at this point of the game, so you need to decide whether or not you feel it's worth having a fortune orb or a prosperity orb. It's up to you, but if you want it, this is how you do it. Now, after we've done all of this, we're going to return to the story. So head all the way back to Gregminster, yep, you've got to go there on foot, and then continue with the story as normal. And the next tip 4, I think we're on 4, yeah, tip 4, is to keep an eye out on the drops that you get and maybe farm some enemies for a little while, because enemies have got multiple items in their drop table, some of them with a rarer drop rate than the other. You'll see things popping up like question mark antiques, and these are items that you need to get appraised, with only certain locations having an appraising shop. So Gregminster has one, but then after that it will be a little while until you find one. So make sure that any rare items that you find in, you go and get them appraised, see what they are. Some of them you can keep for later on in the game in order to display in your base, which we'll talk about later. So yeah, tip 4, keep an eye on the items that you get from enemies, and maybe grind them a little bit just to see if they have any different items. You can look up a list of rare drops online if you need to. So yeah, well worth checking out. Another thing to keep an eye on now for tip 5 as we continue through the story is the formation that you're in. Different characters have different ranges, and if you've got them in the wrong position in the formation, then they're not going to do anything. One prime example of this from early on in the game is the character Victor. He'll join us, but he only has a short range. So if he ends up on the back row, which is probably where the game's going to put him when you pick him up, he won't be able to hit the enemy. So you want to make sure that any characters that have got a short range are up in your front row, and prioritise long range characters being in your back row. Always worth checking, always worth keeping an eye on, just to make sure that your characters are in the right position in order to land hits on the enemy. The next thing that you need to keep an eye on for tip number 6 are the various orbs, runes and rune pieces that you'll get as you progress through Suikoden. The first one that you need to focus on are the orbs that you'll find, and what these do is they equip a rune to a character. This has to be done at a rune master, and you can only have one rune equipped to any character at any one time. You can swap them around for the most part, but yeah, one per character at a time. These runes can give you access to magic, they can give you access to abilities, and they can give you access to passive skills and passive abilities like HP regen and stuff like that. So they're definitely something that you want to be keeping an eye on. They're definitely something that you want to make sure that you've got a good spread of on your characters. One example of a very useful one that you'll get quite early in the game is the water rune, and what that does is it allows someone to use water magic, which is healing magic. I'm sure you can agree that healing magic is a very useful thing. So, like I say, keep an eye on this, make sure that you've got them equipped. The other things that you can find are the rune pieces. The first type of these are the elemental runes, and they are equipped to your weapon at a blacksmith, and they add elemental effects to your weapon. So if you were to attach a wind rune piece, you'd get wind elemental damage to your attacks. Simple. And then finally, you get other rune pieces that are more based on statistics, such as defense runes. And when these are found, you can just use them in the item menu, and they will apply that buff permanently to the character that you use them on. All in all, I'm sure that you can see that runes are very important in Suikoden, and keeping an eye on the runes that you've got equipped while switching them around to suit certain situations will be beneficial to you in the long run. And yeah, try and find as many as you can. Keep an eye out for them. If you find something that drops a rune piece, grind it, that sort of thing. So, you want to progress through the story for a little bit, and that's going to bring us to the final tip that we've got for this video. And that is, once you've got your base, try to be as non-spoilery as possible, but once you've got your base, you will be able to go out and recruit people. And from the moment that you get it, it's a good idea to go and recruit as many people as you can. In the time that you've been playing the game so far, you've probably noticed in some of the towns that a lot of people don't have a portrait that comes with their text boxes, but then there are people that do have a portrait that come along with the text box. And these are the people that you want to keep note of. These are the people that are going to have some degree of importance at some point in the story, whether that's just as someone that you can recruit or someone that you're going to have to go back to in the future. Definitely keep an eye on those people. But from the moment that you get access to the HQ, this is a quick rundown of the people that you can just go and recruit immediately. The first thing that you want to do is get back on your boat and head back to Kaku, which is where you end up getting a boat. You'll remember, if you've reached this point, you'll remember. But go back there, head to the tavern, and speak to Sergei, and you'll be able to just speak to Sergei and recruit them for your headquarters. Next, you're going to backtrack a little bit, so head north to Seika, and once you get there, head to the inn, and you'll find Marie in one of the rooms at the end. She's the innkeeper from Gregminster, if you remember. Talk to her, she'll join up with us. Then you're going to leave the inn and head to the northern part of the town, and in one of the houses there you'll find O'Neill. Chat to O'Neill, and they'll join up with us as well. And that's everybody in Seika, but there's one more person that we can go to, so head north again to the Quaba Fortress, which is the area where you came out of after events happened. And just stood outside the fortress, you'll see Chandler. Speak to Chandler, and Chandler will join up with us. Now, we're done with the backtracking, but there are still a few more people that we can go and get. So, head back to Kaku, and from Kaku, head south and slightly to the east. And you'll see a small town just kind of tucked away next to this giant forest. Now, we will be back here later on, so if you don't want to do this immediately, you don't have to, but I find it quite useful because you can pick up a few bits of gear as well while you're doing it, so I would recommend doing it if you try to get the best start. In the forest village, you'll find two characters that we can recruit. One of them is in the blacksmith, and that's Mars. Just head in there, chat to them, and they'll join us. And then over on the western side of the village in one of the houses there, you'll find Sansuke, and they'll happily join up with us. And these two are quite important because one of them is in charge of the bath at the headquarters, which, you know, you need to have a bath every now and again, and the other is in charge of the blacksmiths. So, two pretty useful people to pick up. Now we've got two more people to recruit, but they take a little bit more effort. The first of these is a character called Kai, and the reason that we pick them up is because they are our main character's former instructor, and they have a pretty good combo attack, a unite attack, that you can use, and it'll wipe out a group of enemies pretty easily. So it's definitely worth picking Kai up and putting him straight into the party. In order to do that, what we need to do is we need to head west. So from the Great Forest Village, head west and slightly north until you can see the bottom of the lake that you already know about. Keep on heading west, hugging the bottom of the lake, and eventually you'll come to a bridge. Go to enter it and you'll be in the Garan Fortress, and you'll find Kai stood outside, chat to Kai, and they'll join up with you. Done. The final recruit that we can get requires a little bit of effort, not much, a little tiny bit. So head back to your headquarters, have a look around, see all of the new people that have popped up, the new functions that you've got, and you're going to want to find Marie, who's in charge of the inn. Rest at the inn first, and then chat to Marie, but rather than selecting stay or save, just cancel out of that menu, and keep on doing that until Marie says something different. She'll say something about needing a cook. Once she says this, we're going to head back to Seika, to the inn where we recruited Marie from, and just next to the bar you'll see a character stood there called Antonio. Speak to Antonio, and they will join us and they will become our cook. And that is all of the recruits that we can do at this point in the game. As the game progresses, keep in mind the fact that characters that have got portraits are probably going to come up again in some capacity, and there's a good chance that you'll be able to recruit them. Because in the Suikoden games, in order to get the best ending, you have to recruit every single character. So that's 107 characters that you have to recruit, which plus the main character makes 108 Stars of Destiny. But anyway, that's my beginner tips in order to get you the best start in the first Suikoden game, and a few things for you to keep an eye out for going forwards. I will potentially do another video following on from this, maybe something to guide people through recruiting every single Star of Destiny, so people don't miss them. Let me know in the comments below if anything like that would be useful for you. There are a couple of things going forwards in the game, such as the duels and the wars, but these are things that we can look at individually, and they don't come up for quite a while yet. This is all about getting the best start in the game. So, let me know in the comments below what else you want to see. Let me know in the comments below if there's anything that you think I've missed. Keep an eye out in the next few days for the Suikoden 2 version of this video, which I'm going to get cracking with pretty much right away. But one thing I will say is that the general tips that are in this video will carry over into Suikoden 2 for the most part. So you will be able to use these tips and get a good start in Suikoden 2, but I'll be doing a specific video just to give people the best start. So yeah, thank you for watching, like the video, subscribe for future content, but more importantly than any of that, have a great day.